Now at 7:30 on WKYT this morning, a gas station clerk is still recovering in the hospital. Now co-workers are throwing a fundraiser to help with medical expenses. Two people in Rockcastle County are behind bars after police say they did not help a man who died of a drug overdose. And a restaurant owner who missed time at work is now giving back to the community who helped him. That's all coming up on WKYT this morning.
This is WKYT This Morning.
Good morning to you. I'm Michelle Chamberlain. Thanks so much for joining us on this Saturday, September 24th. And it's a day of fall, but we've got some summer weather sticking around. Meteorologist Mike Linden joins us now with a look at today's forecast. Good morning.
Good morning, Michelle. Well, here's a look. It looks great outside. Hardly any cloud cover. A beautiful start to our weekend. But as far as feeling like the fall goes, not quite just yet. We look again at the live sky camera. Things are looking wonderful as we get our morning started. And on the Defender radar network, this just goes to show you that, again, not dealing with very much of anything as we get our morning started. If you're heading outside for any of the many events going on outdoors this morning and into the afternoon, things are looking great, at least to kick off the day. The mid to low 60s. So for many of the runs starting early this morning, the 5 and 10Ks we have going on throughout the state, looks like things are good for runners. Temperatures right around room temperature in the mid to high 60s. Although as our day goes on, temperatures are finally going to warm back up, getting back into potentially the lower 90s. So if you're wondering where the fall is, well, it finally gets here next week. Coming up, I'll show you why our temperatures are going to be in the 90s today, and then why we'll fall back almost 15, 20 degrees in just a few days.
Thank you so much, Mike. We have some developing news this morning. A fifth person has died in the shooting at a Washington mall. Police say 4 women are dead and a man who is critically injured is now dead. The shooting happened at Cascade Mall, which is about 65 miles north of Seattle. Police say the victims were shot in the makeup department of the mall. A lone shooter is currently on the run. Co-workers of Chuck Moore are setting up a fundraiser for him this morning. Moore was shot in an attempted gas station robbery at the Marathon on Lansdowne Drive here in Lexington. There will be a fundraiser today at 10 o'clock this morning at the gas station to try and raise money for Moore's medical expenses. Moore posted a video on Facebook yesterday telling everyone he's all right. Moore is a Marine, so he says getting hit 4 times by gunfire doesn't faze him. Police say the suspects in the store did not get away with cash. Moore says he is getting through, and his son says the fact that he is talking is a great sign.
To see him like sitting up and talking and be strong like that, you know, it gives me hope for the future.
Now at that fundraiser, there will be free hot dogs and drinks. It starts at 10 o'clock and should last until 3 this afternoon. New this morning, a car hit a telephone pole in Lexington overnight. Police say it happened on North Broadway at 6th Street just before 11:30 last night. Police shut down North Broadway for a few hours while they cleaned up the scene. Police say the car was abandoned and the suspect was spotted running away from the scene. 2 people are behind bars in connection with a drug overdose in Rockcastle County. David Spoonamore and Morgan Dixon are both charged with abuse of a corpse and tampering with evidence. Both are charged in connection with the death of Jerry Price. Court documents say Price overdosed, then Spoonamore and Dixon drove him around for 3 or 4 hours without getting him help. Police say they passed 3 hospitals while they were driving with Price in the back seat. Now, we talked to Price's mother a few weeks ago, and she said these people are responsible for her son's death.
I know he done the drugs, but they took the choice away from him when they didn't try to get him help.
Now, if the 2 suspects had taken Price to the hospital, they would have been protected by the Good Samaritan law. They would have not faced any charges. Now, both Spoonamore and Dixon are expected to be in court on Monday. Nicholasville police are warning people to be on the lookout. They say Friday morning 4 cars were stolen from the Keene Crossing and Squire Lake neighborhoods. Now police need your help trying to find 2 people who were caught on surveillance cameras. The cameras caught the suspects at a Circle K on Leestown Road. Police say this type of crime is very unusual in Nicholasville.
We typically never have that many in maybe a 2 or 3 week month period as opposed to one night.
Investigators say all of the cars were unlocked and had their keys inside. Now, police are urging everyone to lock your car doors and do not leave your keys or other valuables inside your car. A southeastern Kentucky man faces charges after being arrested for trying to scare people in a clown costume. Police say in Bell County, they say Jonathan Martin was hiding near the Cumberland Village apartments in a full clown costume. One person who lives near where Martin was arrested says it's scary knowing he was that close to her children.
It's kind of scary. I've got twins that are just a year and a half old, so I mean, it's real scary thinking that something like that could be going on right outside my door.
Police say Martin is facing charges including disorderly conduct and wearing hoods or a mask in public places. Protesters in North Carolina continued for a fourth night, staying out of past the midnight curfew. Now, police say they were peaceful, and they said peaceful protesters would not be arrested. Dozens marched in the city's business district, protesting the police shooting of Keith Lamont Scott earlier in the week. Scott's wife released a video of the shooting yesterday, hoping that police would release the body cam footage. Now, in the video, Scott's wife can be heard saying he does not have a gun. Police say they will not release that footage because it could be taken out of context. A Lexington restaurant owner is giving back to a community who helped him. Mamadou Savine suffered burns on 70% of his body a few years ago in an accident in his restaurant's kitchen. Now he's holding a celebration this weekend with live music and food. He says the town picked him up while he missed work, and now he just wants to show a little appreciation.
I was not born in this country. I was not born in this town. I didn't go to school here. I came here, I was 29. But I can proudly say today, this is home for me.
His restaurant is called Sav's Grill, which serves West African cuisine. He says he will have discounts on African beer. He'll have live African music all night tonight. And now let's take a look at some more events going on today here in the Bluegrass. So over at the Kentucky Horse Park this morning is the $30,000 Prix de Lexington. It's all part of the Kentucky National Horse Show, which started on Wednesday. The race starts at 8 a.m. over at Rolex Stadium. 36 horses have been entered into this race, and the horse show continues with its final day tomorrow. Also in Lexington, today is Botanica's Fall Pumpkin and Mum Harvest. It starts at 11 this morning at Pumpkin and Mum Harvest on Old Richmond Road. Activities include pumpkin picking, a petting barn, and a corn maze. You can even get the chance to win UK basketball tickets. This event lasts until 6 o'clock tonight. And over in Frankfort, you can take part in the first ever Kentucky History Half Marathon. So this charitable run also includes a 10K race, a 5K race, and a mile fun run and walk event if you're someone like me. So this race has staggered start times with 13-mile half marathons starting first at 8 o'clock this morning. The event is meant to support the Kentucky Historical Society. There will also be a mile of remembrance during the run, which is meant to be ran silently in honor of our ancestors. So your time now is 7:37 on this Saturday morning. We've got more to come on WKYT this morning. When we come back, we take a look at what you can find at the new African American Museum in Washington, D.C.
A great start so far to our day. Lots of sunshine out there for you. But even though it's the fall, it's not going to feel like it. Coming up, I'll take you through your day and show you why today, again, will feel a lot more like the summer than the fall.
Now, your zone-by-zone forecast with meteorologist Mike Linden.
So in case you're wondering, it is the fall. See, I even have summer on my mind too, because I'm looking at how warm it's going to be this afternoon, and it's not going to feel much like the fall in the slightest bit. Now here's a really good look. The Defender Radar Network. We're not seeing a thing this morning. You may see some thin clouds out there, but as far as rain goes, not going to be seeing any of that today. We're looking at a really great looking day today. As far as the feel, that's another story. The cooler air is to our north right now over the Michigan, New York, Pennsylvania area. But if we look off to our west, that cooler air that's going to make things feel a lot more like fall, it's on its way. Not going to get here until Monday, though, and at that point, we're looking at some major change. Until then, it's going to feel like the summer. This is why I have summer on the mind. Look at this. The low 90s for daytime highs out there. We're 3 games into the football season, and this is what we're dealing with. We're 4 games in, rather. 90 degrees. That's not very fall-like in the slightest bit. So warm out there, to say the least. Even into the evening hours, the low 80s will be still holding on. Now, those big changes that I mentioned as we head into the upcoming work week, that cold front to the west bringing in some thunderstorms to kick off the work week. But once we get past that, things are looking really nice into the upcoming next few days. Temperatures slide out of the 90s and fall all the way back into the upper 60s. That's a little more like it. Your next 3 days, though, going to feel and look like the summer, though. The low 90s today and tomorrow as well, the upper 80s and potentially the lower 90s. Now, the winds will get going a little bit out ahead of this front that gets here on Monday, bringing us the showers and the storms. As far as your ugly weather days, Monday is that day, but that's really about it for the next few. If you're heading out to Commonwealth for the football game later this evening, nothing says tailgating than 90 degrees, right? Be safe out there. These are some pretty toasty temperatures. So if you plan to head out to the tailgate and do some celebrating of your own, just be sure to stay hydrated. The low 90s this time of year certainly could be playing tricks on you. Heading into the evening hours for kickoff, 81 degrees. A beautiful evening at the stadium, and even the drive home looks very pleasant, the mid-70s. A little warmer than where you'd like things to be, but regardless, the conditions still look very nice for the day out ahead of us today. And don't get me wrong, tomorrow looks great too. Sunshine, it's just a little warmer than where you'd like it to be. The upper 80s, a great day to spend some time outside today and tomorrow, with so much going on throughout Lexington and throughout the entire state. Have a blast. We're looking at a beautiful, beautiful weekend. It isn't until Monday that the storms begin to pick up as temperatures fall back into the lower 80s. But look at Tuesday, slipping into the upper 60s with overnight lows in the 40s. That's a little more like it. So if you're really waiting to get the crock pot out and start to get in that fall state of mind, it looks like you won't have to wait around for a little much longer. We're just getting a little extension on the summer weather through the weekend.
Or if you don't like to cook like me, use the crock pot all year long.
Hey, well, whatever floats your boat.
So today will be the opening of the new National Museum of African American History and Culture. Curators were asked to collect Black history artifacts from across the country.
Well, when they asked one woman, she gave them priceless heirlooms linked to one of the country's first African American business moguls. CBS's Marley Hall has the story.
Alelia Bundles wants to share her great-great-grandmother's accomplishments. Madam C.J. Walker was the first woman to become a self-made millionaire before women had the right to vote.
This is a story that needed to be told.
Madam C.J. Walker was born shortly after the Emancipation Proclamation. Her parents had been slaves on a plantation in Louisiana. With some guidance from her brothers, who were barbers, she developed a hair care line for Black people. It took off, and by 1910, she had started a beauty school and built a factory, employing as many as 3,000 people. Bundles donated about a dozen family keepsakes to the new National Museum of African American History and Culture in Washington, D.C., including this sign.
It was very hard to give these items up. The greater gift is that I will be able to see other people enjoy them. And that when I'm gone, those items will still be there.
The museum chose to showcase Madam Walker because she did something nearly impossible in the early 1900s.
She was a pioneer in the beauty culture industry. It was very difficult for African Americans to have that kind of earning power during those times.
The museum has an area dedicated to telling Madam C.J. Walker's story.
I really cannot wait to walk through those doors.
One of many stories that will finally be showcased. Marley Hall, CBS News, Washington.
Madame Walker's products can still be found on store shelves. President Obama plans to officially open the museum with a ribbon cutting later today.
Very cool.
And we have more news coming up on WKYT this morning.
Bill Bryant is up next with a preview of this week's Kentucky Newsmakers.
Good morning. I'm Bill Bryant. The president of the Kentucky Coal Association is moving on, but not before he weighs in on the presidential race. A clip of Kentucky Newsmakers is coming up.
Coming up, the day's headlines. Plus, it seems like no information is safe online. But could hackers take down an entire city? We'll take you along on one reporter's digital doomsday scenario.
And the science behind the binge. Netflix has figured out the exact moment you become addicted to your favorite shows. See how they did it.
All that plus your eye-opener, comedian Norm Macdonald, and music from Dawes in our Saturday session. Just ahead on CBS This Morning, Saturday.
Good morning, I'm Bill Bryant, and we're glad you're here on WKYT. Kentucky Coal Association President Bill Bissett is leaving his job to take a new post in his hometown of Huntington, West Virginia. But he visits with me on this weekend's edition of Kentucky Newsmakers, where he talks about moving on and about the presidential election from the coal industry's perspective.
I'll be running the Huntington Regional Chamber of Commerce, which is a multi-county, regional chamber of commerce back in West Virginia, literally right across the border. And as I was at the governor's conference for energy and environment yesterday, everyone's like, oh, you're leaving. And I'm like, I'm closer than Pikeville. I mean, really, when you think about it in a way. And, Lexington's been great to us. The people have been great. And this job's been a challenge for 6.5 years, but it's been a great challenge.
And so up there, you'll be back in touch from time to time.
I will not be far away.
All right, we talked about the presidential election, at least made a glancing reference. The presidential debate is coming up Monday night. Democrat Hillary Clinton has called for spending billions of dollars in coal country to develop a different kind of economy. She famously said and then backtracked that coal miners would be put out of work. Republican Donald Trump has said he will bring coal jobs back and reopen mines. Is that practical? What do you see happening in this election?
I see many things, and I'm actually getting questions right now from national media as to, what should we ask them? What answers should they provide? And I will say this: if you look at the words of these two candidates, and obviously this is probably the most divisive election we've ever seen. Right. But when you talk to the most rookie coal miner or chief executives or anyone in our industry, they love Donald Trump. There is a passionate support of this man who has literally sought out not only their support, but been very vocal. And, you and I both know people in California and New York City and other places who do not like the product of coal and what it does. That's okay, that's their business. But he has passionately said, I'm going to put these people back to work. We're going to find a way to do it. As opposed to Secretary Clinton, who's been very aggressive, I think, not only in her words, but getting someone like Bill McKibben, who's an ardent environmentalist, to write the national platform for the Democrat Party, sends a real clear message that they're no longer with us. And that puts coal in a very binary box, I think, not only to the presidential race, but partisanship too. That's just where this industry is. We do feel like we're fighting for our existence. And when you have a national leader saying, I'm going to put you back to work, we're going to find ways to do it, I'm a businessman, I'm going to find a way to do that, that support comes right behind it. So in short, yeah, I think it's a pretty clear choice if you believe in Kentucky Coal, who you're going to vote for president.
Is it practical to say that we will reopen mines when, as you have acknowledged, right, the demand has been going down since the late 1970s. There are these other forms of energy that are being developed. Is there going back on some of that?
I think our hope is that he can have a different view. We do believe, and I can't give President Obama all the credit, but I can give him a lot of the credit for the condition of not only Eastern Kentucky coal, but now nationally, we've seen every coal state's production drop, especially to a greater degree those of us connected to steam generating coal. So our hope is if there's someone in the White House who thinks differently about our product, that could bring that back the other way. In other words, if one president can do this, perhaps one president can get us going the right way. It will take time. The changes will not occur immediately. But also you got to remember that Wall Street pays attention to who's in the White House. If someone is in the White House championing our product and what it does for this economy and this country, that's going to have an effect. And obviously, Mr. Trump is not afraid of a microphone or a camera, so I think he's happy if he continues that message. That'd be a good thing.
Now, you can see the full interview with Bissett and hear from WKYT's Miranda Combs about Attorney General Loretta Lynch's visit to Kentucky to talk about heroin. Kentucky Newsmakers will air in its entirety tomorrow morning at 6 on WKYT, and it repeats tomorrow at 10 a.m. on the CW Lexington. I'm Bill Bryant, and we'll be right back on WKYT This Morning.
So finally today, a Colorado woman claims her dog tried to stab her, and she has the wound to prove it.
Celinda Haynes says her dog, Mia, picked up a freshly sharpened paring knife off the counter, then walked around with it. Yes, a dog walked around with it. Haynes says she tried to lure the dog to her with treats so she would drop it, but she instead tried to eat them while holding on to her new toy. She cut a gash about 4 inches long on Haynes' arm, sending her to the hospital. and the staff there called police thinking it was domestic violence. One officer says he was so shocked when he got the call.
When dispatch said that there was a person who was stabbed by a dog, I had to make sure that I heard that correctly, and of course my initial thought was, what's really going on here?
So police say they have officially labeled this a suspicious incident. Haynes says there's no nerve damage. She just needs time to heal. What do you say?
Well, that's certainly an interesting story. I totally get it, though, with times where my dogs are holding on to something they shouldn't be, and I try to lure them to me with treats, but my dog's basically like a cat. She doesn't care. Oh, well.
Interesting. So how's the weather going to be today?
Well, the weather's looking pretty good. It depends on whether or not you're in the fall state of mind or you're still holding on to the last few shreds of summer, because if you're one of those, well, things are looking pretty good through the weekend. The low 90s and upper 80s, these are some toasty temperatures, folks. It isn't until Monday where the active weather returns and ushers in that fall air, falling back to the 60s for daytime highs on Tuesday. So through this weekend, still feeling and looking like the summer, but overall, it looks like a great weekend.
And a hot day to tailgate.
Most definitely a hot day.
Thank you so much for watching today. Hope you have a great Saturday.